Man, yeah, we go way back together. 54. We just worked with him in Central Park. I produced a Montreal Jazz Festival, and we had this whole night leading up to smaller groups of trumpets and saxophones and trombones, and then we put the Bassies band together at the end, and Savion and Patty Austin and Joe closed the show. We had to do it quick so I only could do one number. And this man sounds just like he sounded in 1954 at Birdland. It's amazing. Strong, you know, and he was just as good a ballad singer as he was blues.
Another unfortunate passing was Freaky Tah from the rap group The Lost Boys.
I know.
He was kind of like
he got shot.
Yeah, he shot in the head. He was
unbelievable, man.
Intricate part of the group. You've done a lot of
why, man?
Talking about those tragedies like with Tupac and Notorious Big.
Yeah, my daughter was engaged to Tupac.
Any comment on that with the loss of?
It's amazing. We had a symposium, Vibe Symposium Summit, Hip Hop Summit here, like about 2 or 3 years ago, and I invited some of my friends up. Atala Shabazz, Clarence Avant, Alan Kay, who invented Mac 1, Mac 2, Fab Freddy 5, and Colin Powell and Clarence Avant. They come up and talk to the brothers. We flipped the location 2 hours before we did it because we didn't want the press there. So I wanted everybody to talk straight because we had Conrad Muhammad was there, the Public Enemy, Biggie Smalls, Puffy, Jermaine, everybody. Chris Cross didn't even know. They didn't know, and Easy Moby, they didn't even know who Colin Powell was. It's amazing, man. Hey, brother, what did you do? They don't know who he was, man. And Suge Knight, Dr. Dre was heavy. Jake was there. Jake got murdered 3 nights later in Atlanta. But the whole idea of the meeting was about them trying to figure out how to live a little bit longer. It's amazing.
Is there any thoughts or words or just a message that you would communicate to the youth in that regard as to try and just, it gets redundant, we say stop the violence, but yet the violence continues.
Yeah, because it's bigger than that. The idea of the violence, it's the tributaries are endless, because number one, the violence, so much violence is happening because we got so many guns around. The guns are the access to guns is just awesome. It's terrifying. And I think if you didn't have so much dope going on, you'd have less guns going on because the premium is too high on dope. My solution to that, only very few people want to hear about it, but it's hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars a year that the dope generates, more than most countries takes to run most countries. And but you mix all these elements together, the camaraderie of the gangs, which ends up being a surrogate father in most cases. Like Snoop Dogg told me that, it's like, hey man, my homies are the only ones there for me 24/7, and their perceptions are all turned upside down because of what happens very young, like it happens in everybody. It all happens before you're 9 years old, and by that time you've got an inner child that's confused, because he's not really sure what his identity is about. We have no connection with our roots culturally. I think if we just could start with just understanding our culture, we'd have something concrete to hold on to. The whole world loves it. The whole world has adopted our culture as their Esperanto. We don't even respect it, Artists, like when we discard the blues, we discard jazz, Miles Davis's audience is 99% white. B.B. King's 99% white, It's ridiculous. And we just go from one thing to another, create it, and just leave it in the dust and dispose it. And I think it's time to go back and pick up all the pieces of the family somehow. That's one part of it. And try to get the message through for the fathers to be responsible for the children, that's where it starts.
I love the new album from Cuba. It's such a great collection of your works.
Thank you.
Over the years. And,
Thank you.
I know you gave it out.
That's what it is, too, yeah.
And then people encourage you to do it as a commercial release. It's a really great idea.
Well, thank you.
Quintero,
yes.
Your newest artist. Just talk about Quintero a little bit and how you encountered him.
Quintero, my daughter came up one day, excited daughter, And I respect Kid Out of Stage very much. You know, since she was 7, she's already had a good take on everything from fashion to music. And she said, you got to check Katara out. And so she brought him over, and I had to take his wine bottle from him. I'm just kidding. And he sat down to the piano, and he just sort of like warmed up, and I could hear his chops. And it was just a question of finding some material. And so we had this great song, and I was in the middle of this album, and it wasn't but a minute before we said, Cat, come on, let's do it. You know? And what my feelings about him are reflected in where he is in the album. There's James Ingram and Patty singing my favorite song, How to Get the Music Playing, and then Cat, and then Michael Jackson singing Human Nature. That's a hot seat, but he can handle it.
Carol, talk about your single, Something I Cannot Have.
Well, it's about unrequited love, you know, something that everybody experiences, if not with love for a person, you know, love for a position in life or a certain skill that they want to do. Everybody wants something that they cannot have.
Tell us a little bit about your background, Katara, and working with your dad, who your dad was.
Well, I'm from Chicago. I grew up, my father was a musician. He was in groups like the American Breed and Rufus. And I forgot the name of the Trinidad's back in the day. And I just grew up listening to music, you know, around music and like in studios. And, you know, like it was like music was given to me. You know, I didn't like choose it. It just became what I did.
Can the two of you give us a little insight on your full project on the album that's forthcoming?
It's coming out first of next year.
Have we started working on it production-wise in the studio?
Well, we're working on it. To me, the heaviest, what do I know? The heaviest work on an album is letting it simmer in your mind and your soul to find out. It's important for me to find out, because, you know, the more I know Katero and love him, you know, because it takes love, you know, to go deep inside him and find where he's coming from musically, and find not only that, but find things that he doesn't know is there. I mean, that's what I had to do with Michael. I had to find things that he didn't know he could do. And that's the exciting part, you know. And I think the relationship with the producer and the singer is very intimate, sometimes more intimate than you squeeze, you know. I'm not talking about physically, I'm just, you know, just psychologically. The relationship is very powerful, because in many cases you're asking an artist to jump without a net, knowing that you protect them and they'll never get hurt. And after a while they know that. And because I've experienced this with some people that have been legends for years, you know? And once they get that to happen, then they get you to jump without a net too, and whatever that relationship's about. But it's a very special, cherished relationship, I think.
Talk about
trust and respect and love.
Talk about the other new songs on the album with Patty Austin, one with Elder Barge and Saida Garrett.
Right.
They're already on the charts, the album is.
Right.
Single, both on the charts, moving up.
Exactly.
And the new single with Tevin Campbell.
Right. The single with Tevin is absolutely beautiful. We don't dare touch it because he's got his own album out now. He's got hits in his own album. But Tevin's been with me since he was 12. His first record was a hit, #1 record, Tomorrow. And then we did a song that Roy Bennett wrote, who wrote All My Life with Casey and JoJo. It was a hit in about 22 countries. That's with Saida Garrett and Elder Barge. Beautiful song called I'm Yours. And then we had Patty Austin sing a Diane Warren, David Foster song. And Kat is singing the one we just talked about. Rory again. Rory and Antonina Amato. Yeah.
All the artists you've worked with over the years, is there any artists that you've always wanted to work with but haven't for some reason?
Well, I get asked that question a lot, and it's one of them is very sad, because Marvin Gaye is one. We were really good friends. We worked together in personal appearances, but we never recorded. We talked about it for 17 years, and then he took the morning train before we did it. Also, Whitney, who I heard about since 16, and we've known each other, and we've talked about working together. We've been circling the field, and one day I'm sure we'll do it, you know. She's great.
With everything, anything you've dared, is there anything that you've dared to dream that you haven't yet conquered or challenged?
Yeah, I'm in the process of doing it now. I'm writing a Broadway show with Leslie Brickers about Sammy Davis. It's his life. It's very exciting.
So are you just getting started with that? Actually, I think I read.
We wrote the libretto together in France last year, 2 years ago, and now we're getting ready to take it home and write some songs.
Can we look forward to any more film projects, scores, or
Oh, sure.
film productions?
Sure, a lot of productions we're doing. The Alexander Pushkin story, Russian poet, black Russian poet, with Milos Forman is directing it. We're doing Pimp with Ice Cube, Iceberg Slim's Pimp, with Ice Cube exploring the reasons how that relationship comes about from childhood of the pimp and the lady. We're also dealing with the J. Edgar Hoover story, with the Hughes brothers directing, and hopefully De Niro playing Hoover.
Great. That sounds excellent.
So got some good movies. And another one with Stomp, too. You know, the group Stomp?
Yes.
They wrote a screenplay called Vacuums. It's great. They're going to direct it themselves, too. So there's some wonderful projects.
A lot of black people in my dialogue in the industry, outside of the industry, when we see films that deal with a certain cultural aspect in regards to on the same vein as Pimp or about hustlers and things like that, they kind of, I get a lot from some folks. You get a kind of a view where it's like, why are we making a movie about that? Like, we don't know about that. You know, but from your perspective, what's the importance of
the importance of it to me is when I was a kid during the war, I worked for a lot of pimps. I worked around them and lived with them and all kinds of things. You know, I never wanted to be a pimp, but I was always thrown next to the other guys. And some of them were really great guys. And their actions totally contradicted their profession. I met Iceberg Slim. And unlike the stereotypical Jerry Crow pimp, tennis shoe pimp, he was a cultured man. He spoke 7 languages, art and appreciation, everything else. But that disease or whatever that is, you know, of what a pimp is about, was a strong part of his personality. And what's always fascinated me, and that's what we want to explore. What is it that turns them around when they find out that words and manipulation and et cetera can put them in a position to have this kind of power over a woman who voluntarily yields to it. You know, that's the phenomenon that blows me away. And it's not about poverty because, you know, there's just as many white, wealthy women involved in it as there are poverty, urban people, you know. And it's always fascinated me the games that go on between them. And I want to start where it turns, you know, what kind of family background do they have to push them to that point, because it's definitely low self-esteem at one point. What pushed them to that point to want to be part of a stable of 4 or 5 girls, you know, have to go out and hit what they have to hit every night. It's a rough life. I've been around it a lot. And it's no joke. But the psychology behind what pushes both of them there and how they bond in that most bizarre relationship I think on the planet, and it's as old as oxygen. The process, it's been going on a long time, so it's really part of human nature. But the whys fascinate me.
And we'll explore that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Because I mean, people hearing that come from you, a lot of people will respect that as opposed to always asking why, and they don't see it more as a more significant. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And it's amazing because there's somehow there's this perception that this is just one of the evil vices just in the black community. It's wrong. It goes back to the Romans and Greeks and way back. And there's some universal psychology there that's fascinating. It really is, because it never stops.
50 years in the business. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Quest Broadcasting. Just talk about that a little bit.
It's going great. It's about a first station in New Orleans, WNOL. which is probably, the value is probably quadrupled or more than that. And in the process of developing that, we had a great manager, Madeline Bono, in New Orleans. And while we were developing it, was a Fox station at first. And it was in business. I was in business with Time Warner when we first bought it. When Steve Ross was alive. And I went down one weekend to welcome the NFL. Rupert Murdoch had bought the NFL and the football franchise. And so we went down to welcome the Saints, which would maybe help our station rating go up. And we had a House of Blues celebration, et cetera. I went out in the football field, and I don't know anything about football except when I was a kid. And welcomed them, and as I got back on the plane the next day in the paper, Fox pulled the affiliation. I didn't know they could do that, so we were a standalone station, so we had to do something fast. Tom Murphy, who's the head of ABC, called me 5 minutes later. Wanted to have a meeting. We met. He wanted it to be an ABC station, which is not bad. 3 hours later, Dennis Fitzsimmons, the head of Tribune, said, no, I'd like to start a minority communications company and go for the big deal, go for the big things. Let's go. I'm down with it. So we bought a really powerful station in Atlanta called WATL, which is Warner Brothers' biggest station. It's really a powerful station. And Don Cornelius, Geraldo Rivera, Willie Davis, and Sonia Saltzman, my partners in that business with Tribune. And it's a fascinating business, really. The station was so strong that Dawson's Creek got kicked off, which is one of Warner Brothers' big hits. And we called it a fifth or sixth network with UPN and WB. We got the numbers for fifth networks, was Fox has gone past that. 3, 4, 5 ratings. It's did a 15 on Dawson's Creek, which is awesome. I mean, the station is that strong, so I'm real happy about that. And the station's value has just gone up, and it's a great business.
Thank you. Mike, we need to wrap up.
Yes.
Yeah. Just last question to Terrell. Just talk about being the latest artist on Impress Records and working with Quincy Jones.
Well, I grew up listening to Quincy Jones, singing his music, even before I could probably before I could read and write, just like most people. And just to be in a studio working with him is probably one of the most profound moments of my life, and the things that he teaches me about longevity and music are just, it's a blessing from God. So I want to share that with people in my music.
Thank you. Thanks again, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.